Hey, thanks, Kura, and hi everyone. Welcome to Women in AI. Today we are at Engage launch event for US chapter with amazing panelists and organizing committee members today. My name is Buwa and I'm the Global Ethics and Culture Officer at Women in AI. I'm based in New York. Thank you for joining us again on a Thursday evening. Ahead of our career launchpad session today, so let me quickly introduce who we are at Women in AI and what we do as a nonprofit organization. So we are spread across 160 countries worldwide. And as many of you may already know, we are a 100% volunteer-led community from ground up. We focus on closing the gender gap for women and girls, predominantly focused on artificial intelligence, machine learning and data science, and of course, everything in between. We have about 50,000 community members globally. And of course, on a daily basis, our community is growing. Just a quick rundown of various initiatives we run globally. And if you are interested in anything, please do reach out to us. We do have our email ID, our website, and our LinkedIn page listed below. Our primary mission is to focus on digital inclusion, financial inclusion, and social inclusion. We not only emphasize on the technology and tools like AI, machine learning, and data science, but we also heavily focus on ethics, trust, and culture. How do we incorporate sustainable innovation along with applications of technology? We do also work with students, researchers, governments, public sector, corporates, startups, academia, as well as a lot of private sector folks and other nonprofit organizations as well. So there's something for everyone. So if you are interested, please do connect with one of us. And let me now hand over to Cora, who's going to take us through what our Engage series is about today. And then we'll get right into our Launchpad session for the day. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks for that. So just to jump into the focus of the series and the Engage team, the Women in AI Engage USA team, our mission is to provide inclusive and effective AI programming that fosters engagement, communication, and community for all women and girls. We're putting on a 6-month series called the Women in AI Engage series this year. And our hope is that we can use these monthly lectures and talks to engage and connect with women in the AI community, encourage future generations of women to pursue AI education, provide knowledge and resources, and empower women to be confident. Our events are provided at no cost and are open to everyone. And I just wanted to throw in a huge shout out to our volunteer team here. We have an amazing group of people working together on this project, some really incredible backgrounds on this team, and everyone's working super hard on top of their other obligations like, you know, professorships, full-time jobs, family, stuff like that. We really appreciate all of your hard work and time that you put into these events. So thank you to all of you on the team. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Raga to chat a little bit more about the event today.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
This event, WA Career Launchpad, will support women to pursue a fulfilling career in AI and data, featuring keynote speakers who have overcome obstacles to contribute significantly to the field of artificial intelligence. Whether you are just graduating from high school, planning a career change, this event will help you imagine and plan the next step towards success in your career. This event also includes a panel discussion where we will hear from powerful and accomplished AI professionals and how they forge success in this field. Let me introduce the panel. Alyssa is a member of the NASA Datanauts. She has worked as an information security analyst, data scientist, and machine learning researcher, and she is a former contributor to open source software. Dia is a senior practice manager in emerging technologies and intelligent platforms for Amazon Web Services. She has served on nonprofit boards, including the AWS Health Equity Initiative Review Board. Samruddhi Kulkarni is a software engineer at Rendered AI to train artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. She leads platform releases and DevOps, in addition to developing, packaging, and documenting Python SDK. Tahrim is a data analyst at IHS Market on time series forecasting in the advanced analytics team of the automated department. Angie is a data analyst, researcher, and mentor with expertise in health disparities and epidemiology research. She participated in multiple health-based research labs at Kansas State University. With that, Alyssa, would you like to start with your keynotes?
Yes, thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Alrighty. Well, I'm honored to be a keynote speaker at this event, and I'm excited to present my experiences and lessons learned so far along my career journey, along with how you can define your future in AI. So, we all know that AI has been rapidly evolving in recent years with new developments and really exciting discoveries. So a really important question to ask ourselves is, how are AI's recent advances creating future careers? So one example of a recent advance in AI is NASA's Livingstone 2, which is an open source AI system that can run diagnostics on a spacecraft and is currently running diagnostics on spacecraft out there. And they can also recommend actions to keep complex systems up and running, including life support systems if necessary. They're robust to unexpected failures like hardware failures, and it requires minimal human supervision. It also has been tested on the International Space Station in some parts. So this advance in AI can be classified as a recommender system, which can prioritize which systems or content or any other things that computers can control are most relevant to specific computers or systems. Other significant advances in AI can fit into like several other bins, but I only listed the four most influential according to the Stanford report, including language processing, which can now effectively learn from context-sensitive data, computer vision and image processing, which powers like lots of really cool things right now, including photorealistic images and video backgrounds like the one I have on right now. Healthcare, it's powering digital healthcare in aiding drug discovery, more sophisticated diagnoses, and more efficient medical center operations. And in finance, where it's enabling automated financial advice, fraud detection, money laundering prevention, and risk calculations of unexpected market changes. So with all of these recent advances in AI and their expansions in several industries, it's led to an increase in demand for AI professionals across the board. Both economic and labor data show an optimistic outlook for AI career opportunities. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the US Department of Labor, jobs for computer and information research scientists, which includes AI and machine learning jobs under that huge umbrella, are projected to grow 22% from 2020 to 2030, which is much faster than average compared to the other occupations that they look at. More specifically to AI and data science practitioners, LinkedIn published a Jobs on the Rise report in 2021, where these two professions, artificial intelligence practitioners and data science specialists, were two of the 15 jobs that they named on the rise. And they also specified that they have a total salary range of $100,000 to $150,000 per year. On a global scale, the World Economic Forum listed data analysts and scientists and AI and machine learning specialists as two of the top two occupations with increasing demand across industries worldwide. So with these large macro trends, or this bird's eye view on these larger labor market statistics, we need more granular information in order for that information to be practical to us, like what skills, what locations, what educational avenues to pursue. And that means that we need to start looking at additional patterns that can impact our careers. So I started looking at trends in employment from LinkedIn's 2021 Jobs on the Rise, and also Kaggle's really helpful 2021 State of Machine Learning and Data Science. And I noticed that the locations hiring data science and AI professionals in the US are primarily on the West Coast and the East Coast in the tech hubs. On the West Coast, that consists of primarily Seattle and San Francisco. And on the East Coast, that consists of primarily Washington, DC and New York City. I should also add government hubs because the government is starting to invest more heavily in data science and AI and in ethical frameworks for AI and so on. I also looked at specific skills and frameworks used, and along with the frameworks graphic that I have on this slide, Kaggle's survey has a wealth of information on different languages, IDEs, which are development environments, or other cloud computing environments that machine learning and AI models are worked on, but and deployed on. But on this slide, this focuses on machine learning frameworks, which I thought was the most pertinent to this audience. So we can see here that, again, Python-based tools continue to dominate the machine learning frameworks overall. Scikit-learn at the bottom is clearly still the leader in machine learning frameworks because it is like the Swiss Army knife of machine learning. This is closely followed by TensorFlow and Keras, which are used in deep learning, which has been gaining more traction in recent years, followed by PyTorch, which is still not as popular as the other frameworks, but it's gaining a lot of traction year over year in recent years. I also looked at education, and education was very interesting in that some reports provided a very high level statistic like this one, where 98% plus of hires had a bachelor's degree or higher, or which includes like graduate and professional degrees, and some went into much more detail, like I will in the next series of slides. So expanding on education from Kaggle's survey, we can see that graduate degrees continue to be the norm for data scientists, with over 62% having obtained a master's or doctoral degree, and only fewer than 5% of data scientists have no degree beyond a high school diploma. Looking at this year over year, it's becoming more common to be employed as a data scientist or AI practitioner without having an advanced degree, but advanced degrees are still the norm, where they're almost like 66% or 2/3 of the data scientists who responded to that survey. So with this in mind, with education in mind, I've found also personally in my career that continuous learning is key, whether it's done via formal education, like at a university or a degree program at a university, or like it's done via informal education that's self-directed, like on Coursera, or just looking up different articles about specific tools or frameworks that you want to learn how to use. I've found that being like the sensor that took these radar images to continuously and consistently learn about this asteroid from all angles has been super helpful in my career. Just having that like continuous curiosity, that continuous drive to learn has been super helpful. And I always highly recommend to anyone who I speak to about data science careers to always be learning new concepts in the path that you want to pursue a career in. I also highly recommend learning with a community, because your knowledge will grow so much faster than if, and have so much more magnitude and depth than if you tried to just learn on your own. Like it will grow in magnitude like this galaxy that I've shown here on the bottom of the slide in a much faster period of time. I'd also highly recommend like collaborating with that larger community, like at hackathons and things. I know that Data Umbrella or Women in Machine Learning and Data Science and Women in AI, this organization have regular events like this where you can collaborate with the community to learn and to grow and to have that really comprehensive set of perspectives on what you're learning. Also, in a cyclic fashion with learning with the community, I'd also highly recommend sharing what you learn as you learn. So This can be like building a portfolio of public work on a website or GitHub, cultivating a strong online presence in general by establishing yourself as your leader in the field, presenting your learning journey, writing or speaking to show your knowledge. Overall, like, I recommend like showcasing your subject matter expertise if you have that in like math or stats or computer science, or if you transition from another field like theater or philosophy or political science. Yeah, like I'd highly recommend showcasing that too. Also, if you plan to get into a more technical role in AI, which I assume most of us desire, then I'd recommend like displaying well-documented code on GitHub or GitLab or a similar platform. Always comment your code, always include a README of what the code is and what the code does, so that non-technical people who want to recruit you or understand what you're doing can understand what you're doing and what you've done and what you've contributed. Along with sharing what you learn, this general thread, I'd highly recommend, if you have time, volunteering with or having or contributing to a paid community builder position at any one of these like open source or like just diverse community groups that you can be a part of. Like, I'd highly recommend contributing to Women in AI or to Our Ladies Global. Like, starting an Our Ladies chapter has been one of the most, if not the most, rewarding things that I've done in my career, and also one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my career. It's enabled me to both learn with the community and share what I learned in a very quick and cyclic fashion, and I've been able to help a lot of people through through this group. So yeah, if you don't have a local Our Ladies chapter or a local chapter of any other organization that you're very passionate about, I highly recommend starting one. So some closing thoughts that can serve as a brief synopsis or summary of everything that I've covered so far. Basically, as advances in AI and machine learning change, so does the labor market, and so do the skills, technologies, and frameworks in use and in demand. So to stay current, we have to change and adapt, like we're training and retraining ourselves on new data. Also, the toughest thing to learn and also to teach about like data science and AI is the intuition for what the big important questions to ask of your data are. In this presentation, I tried to drive it by asking the big important questions of what recent advances in AI have been, how they have impacted the labor and employment market, and how we can all prepare and equip ourselves to adapt to this ever-changing landscape. And finally, we can all learn how to find the answers to these important questions that we ask ourselves with education, experience, and practice. Education, again, can be formal or informal, self-led or in a community, but I'd recommend the community. Experience is essential to identifying and solving problems, regardless of whether it's gained in industry, at large companies, small companies, startups, or in academia. And as always, practice takes time and good old hard work. So thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions on anything I presented today, please feel free to contact me via my website. Thank you.
Thanks, Elisa. Let me invite Dia to talk about her experiences in AI.
Hi, excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that brief introduction. As mentioned, I'm Dia Nguyen, and I'm excited to be here on this virtual stage to be able to share a little bit about my experience. Now, I'm going to do something really quickly because I can talk a long time about this, especially when there are things that you're passionate about. So I'm going to set my little timer so that I can make sure to not go too long, especially when you start talking about things that you're passionate and excited about. You know, you can linger. So let me just pause for a minute and share a little bit about myself. My pronouns are she and her, And for those that may only be hearing me, I am a cisgendered African-American woman with medium brown skin, curly, dark brown, and goldish hair. I'm wearing a Black t-shirt with white letters with the words inclusion, diversity, equity, forming the word unity. This is some new swag that I received from our ID&E team at an event last week, Black Girls Rock. So I wanted to share that today, and I think it's appropriate for the conversation. I've been with AWS for more than 5 years, working in professional services. So that's our consulting arm of the business, and have been engaging mostly with our large enterprise customers, and more recently, some of our startups in the AI space. Initially focused on equipping them with the capabilities that they needed to define a new operating model and transform their organizations and operations with their adoption of the cloud. I've also been committed to driving inclusion, diversity, and equity initiatives within the company as well as without. In AWS, that conversation of inclusion, diversity is about creating space and engaging in dialogue, sometimes difficult conversations to help us see our blind spots, understand our biases and positions of power, and consider ways to use our power and influence to create space and advantage for others. Outside of work, I can be found doing exactly that, going into schools to expose students to new opportunities in STEM, taking week-long bus tours to introduce young women to historically Black colleges and universities, and volunteering or tutoring and mentoring. I share that because of my commitment to ID&E and technology isn't just something that I do at AWS or Amazon. And you can sense that my path into AI isn't necessarily the traditional one, or wasn't the traditional one. I transitioned into emerging technologies and intelligent platforms, which is one of our global specialty practices, in 2020. And at the time, I did so with the express purpose of building out a practice that was going to partner with our customers to focus on technology ethics. And we first started with responsible AI. I bring a similar thought process into this area of technology as I did with cloud adoption. It requires a holistic approach to be able to realize full benefit and value of our investment in artificial intelligence. Organizations can't make technology decisions in a vacuum and not consider its impact on their people, both internally and externally, their processes and the technology that they employ. And so this new operating model underpins and supports their desired business outcomes and informs their overall AI strategy. Now, that's what I've been doing. Now, let me give you some context or take a little step back and talk about the path to get here. Now, my interest in computers actually started early for me, and that's probably a little uncommon for some folks, especially people that grew up in my generation. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to technology at an early age. It was in the 3rd grade. And in the 3rd grade, I decided that I wanted to be a computer engineer. Now, you can imagine that was a little strange and abnormal because most of the images that we had at the time didn't depict women in technology or science careers, most of which we saw were women that were probably a teacher, most of the time a homemaker, and maybe a nurse. And that was sort of the extent of the examples that I had publicly or had around me even, because I come from a family of school teachers and my aunt was a nurse. And so this idea that I decided that I was going to go into technology was really strange and foreign, and I didn't have the slightest context really for what I was saying, other than the fact that I was exposed to a computer. At the time, it was the Commodore VIC-20. So for those of you that are way or have some context, Commodore VIC-20 did very little in the way of technology at the time, but that was the computer that I was exposed to. And at that time, it was the starting point for me stepping into a career in computers. And so I stayed with that, never changed. And I went to school in college, Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, studied computer science and minored in mathematics, and launched into a career in programming over 20 some odd years ago now. And it was that exposure for me. And then, coupled with education that was able to sort of move me and venture me into this area. Now, then when I take a look at my sort of step into artificial intelligence, that was also a sort of pivotal moment for me almost 4 years ago. And that started because I was now a mom with the responsibility of looking at or wanting to inform how my sons were being educated. And as I thought about this, I said, well, I don't think, I'm a technologist. And so I'm looking at how things are moving with technology all the time and what's happening in this field. And I didn't feel like our schools and our educational system was actually providing the kind of information and training even that would help our students, my sons, be ready for the future. And so I started to explore, what else do they need to know? What else should I be sharing with them? What should we be building a foundation for so they could be ready for the future? And so this was, again, a little over 4 years ago. And as I started to explore, there were a couple of things that consistently came up. One is to sort of focus on data and this new data-driven economy. The other was, automation and then artificial intelligence, or automation and robots, and then artificial intelligence, which the two of those are somewhat closely related. And as I looked at that, right, as an opportunity for my sons, I also saw that there was something missing. And that's oftentimes the voice or the perspective of people of color and women. I was finding information that would talk about, the great opportunity that artificial intelligence would provide. And you were hearing some of that as Alyssa was sharing, just in the advancements and the continued investment that companies are making in artificial intelligence, and even the way in which it's shifting jobs and skills that we ought to focus on. But there was still a gap in the sense that this was a technology that was distant from people of color and women in many cases. And we weren't being represented. So here I go with my inclusion and diversity sort of focus. And I was like, this is something that we should be paying more attention to. And I started to move into this area. Now, at the time, I started to explore, and it's the wonderful thing about the company that I work for, because we have all of these opportunities to learn. And so it meant for me, more research and study individually. We have different learning and development systems internally. We have, partnerships with other institutions. And so I started taking classes, and I started studying, and I started researching and committing myself to newsletters that were coming from AI Now and the World Economic Forum and other institutions that would help inform the way in which I would start to understand and eventually move into AI. I took a course at MIT, and MIT at the time had a course called Safeguarding Humanity. Over at Northwestern, there was a class that actually focused on artificial intelligence for business users. And then I went and took a course in ethical leadership at Harvard University. And I kept looking for other places, other institutions, because at this particular time, there's no organization or institution actually that had a singular focus on ethics or responsible AI as a sort of a certificate or a learning program. So it was really exploring different places, different schools and institutions to sort of feed this now growing hunger in me. So for me, moving into AI was a complete career pivot, because my expertise had been largely focused in operations or organizational transformation and digital transformation around cloud and other technologies. I worked in data centers before, had been programming and had shifted away from that a bit. But this was a career pivot. And a lot of what I did was taught self-learning and using the resources in my organization at the time. And then every place I could find that was talking about responsible AI or ethical AI as a way to fuel me or to feed me. So that was almost 4 years ago. Now in my work, I have the opportunity to influence and shape others, major companies. And again, I started off earlier with talking about this context and the way in which I think about responsible AI, this holistic approach, and not just focusing on the technology alone. And if we think that we actually solve this problem by just saying that we're going to add another tool that would mitigate bias or use something that would provide explainability or interpretability, understanding better the way in which the systems are making decisions. If we think that doing that alone is going to solve this challenge, then we've missed the mark as far as what responsible AI is. And so I take this perspective, this sort of holistic look, understanding the implications and the impact of people. And Alyssa shared a little bit about that too, about the shift in skills and the focus that we need, and even jobs, new jobs that are being created or shifted as a result of AI. The processes that we need to have in place to be able to manage these living systems, because we don't just build something and throw it over the fence, but it's something that is constantly learning and a system that we need to be constantly improving and changing and monitoring so that we can manage its results. And then the technology that helps us to be able to do those things, as well as look at bias and that sort. All of that together creates this overall sort of approach that we can take to responsible AI and to building systems that are fairer, more fair, inclusive, and systems that benefit us all. So I share all of that, kind of in context, because I want you all to see that for me, I also had the opportunity, and I think this is true for others as well, to take the experience that I had, the context that I bring into our conversations about AI. And I know that when we talk to other companies, we talk about the value and importance of diversity, and diversity actually being part of a requirement for how we build. But also diversity, when I think of that, not just in the people and sort of ethnic backgrounds that come to the table, our different abilities that we bring, but then we also need subject matter experts from different industries, because this is a multidisciplinary problem, right? We need people that are in social science and in other parts of business to be able to infuse and help inform how we understand the problems we're looking to solve and the approaches that we take to address those. And so even if you're not like in a traditional context looking at now moving or considering AI, that I would say there is a place for you too. Now, Alyssa clearly outlined some of the things that we need to pay attention to, some of the things that you want to consider in terms of education and background that is necessary. And she's true. I remember saying that I did not want to get my PhD, right? A bunch of the folks internally in my organization have their PhD and our data science and stuff. That's not my desire. I actually do want to get my PhD, but not in data science, right? And so I kept saying, that's not something I want. So I was looking for other pathways. And fortunately, again, the organization I was in offered a pathway for me. And one in my seeing a need, because we weren't at the time walking with customers to help them look at their implementations in a responsible way. We were giving them tools, we're giving them the technology, but we really weren't walking alongside of them. And so, my entry into this was with the background and the study that I had done and the courses I had taken across a number of different institutions, now coming to the organization and saying, we need to be paying attention to this more. And here's an opportunity for us to lead. And that's one of the ways or the way in which I stepped in to this. But I think the steps that I made along the way in terms of the self study, exploring, institutions that had courses here or there. And there's so many others now that are providing courses, and the Business School of AI is one that, is a woman-owned organization that even talks a lot about career pivots and shifts for individuals that are moving into this area. We at AWS now have, a platform in our skill builder that offers, a training for people who want to pivot into AI. And so these are all opportunities that we get to, perhaps not informal ways, step into this space. Now, as part of my early focus, like I mentioned as well, I had the opportunity to be able to then create, and using a lot of the input from other organizations and the experience of our company in helping so many customers building AI, to then create a framework that we use to be able to consistently and in a structured way guide customers through considerations that they should make, questions that they should bring to bear. Sometimes even asking, do you have diversity? What does your team look like? Who is responsible for annotating your data? And what is that demographic, to really help them understand or uncover where there may be bias, potential risk, unintended impact, and the potential for harm when we're missing those things. Now, I know I'm watching my time, so I know I only have a few minutes more left, and I told you that I could probably talk about this sort of thing for a very long time, but there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out that I think have been helpful, in addition to those, just sort of charting your own path and bringing the value of your own expertise to the conversation, because I think it matters. But there are other things that the three things that I wanted to also highlight. At AWS, we talk about something called superpowers. And this kind of fits into what I was saying about your sort of unique experience and value that you bring. We like to think about superpowers as being the thing that's uniquely you, the thing that you consistently kind of show up in, that people recognize about you, that you do often, or that you just do easily. And sometimes people tend to rely on you to do that. That's your superpower. We talk about that as being, something of value. And I would encourage you to think about what is that thing that is uniquely you, that superpower that you get to bring to the table and bring to influence how you look at and how you approach your learning. So you leverage that. The second would be, and Alyssa mentioned this too, we call this at AWS and Amazon, learn and be curious. It's one of our leadership principles. And she mentioned this as well, the openness to learn, remaining open to learning all the time. This is an evolving space. What we're doing now, even though artificial intelligence has been around for a while, and we're still seeing advancements and changes, and we're seeing AI being applied to every industry, into tools in almost any way, that we need to continue to remain curious, willing to learn. I am reading and exploring things on a daily basis so that we could stay at the forefront of what's happening and understand the trends and the changes and even regulation that's coming to fore. And so us being ready to step into this need to be continually ready to learn, or willing to learn, to explore. And then the last, and I think this one is important for us as women in particular, is resisting the urge to assimilate. And I say for women, but in particular also for Black women, resist the urge to assimilate, be seen and heard. I did that before. When I first came into technology companies, my desire was that I just wanted to sit down and do my job, and hopefully no one would notice me. I mean, I wanted them to notice me in the sense that they noticed my work, that I was doing good work, but not that they noticed me. And that's crazy to think that they wouldn't notice me, given that I usually was the only woman or the only person of color in the room. And so now, as I've gotten a little further in my career, and I think this matters a lot when we talk about artificial intelligence, you being seen and heard is important. The perspective that we bring is necessary. And I'll give you an example, and then I'll close with this. If we think back to when seatbelts were created, I think it was about 1954, seatbelts were created and they were tested with male dummies. The reason and the rationale for them doing so was that 70% of the drivers at that time were male. 30% were women, but they didn't consider that. Women were passengers, children were passengers even, but they didn't design for that. They designed for the 70% male that were drivers. And their voice or the perspective of those other stakeholders were not considered. So what happened when they first created seatbelts and they started using them? We actually had the increase of injury and even death to women and children. Now, this was something that was created for good. It was intended to have a positive outcome to reduce injury and even deaths for people, but they were created without our voice and our perspective. And so the outcome was an unintended impact of additional harm and even death to women and children. Now, of course, you know now seatbelts are being tested with dummies that represent the average size of a woman and even children. And we've now improved that technology, and it's having the positive impact that we wanted. That's the result in some ways of us not being seen, not being heard, and our perspective being missing from that technological advancement. That's why I say resist the urge to assimilate, and that you want to be seen and heard, because it is our voice, our perspective, right? Our influence that needs to be seen in AI to reduce the impact and harm. And so that's what we ultimately need, right? Not us hiding, shrinking back, but more of us in these places to be able to influence the way the technology is being designed, implemented, and ultimately being consumed in the world. So hopefully that helps give you a little context for some things that you can do to help you in your foray into artificial intelligence, or maybe making the pivot, the career shift, or even just maybe just encouraging you a little bit more as you think about what you do in this space. I'll end here. And I know I just went 2 minutes over, so if there are time for questions, certainly I'm open to those. And if not, I'll make sure to share my information and you all can reach out to me and ask questions as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Dia. Thanks, Alyssa and Dia. Thank you so much. That's really inspirational and insightful. Kaura, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Alyssa and Dia. It's just so amazing to hear such powerful, articulate speakers. Such a pleasure having you. I'm also very excited to chat with our panelists today. We have 3 amazing professionals joining us to chat through their experiences in data analysis, biostatistics, and AI. So really, really excited to chat with you all. And our first question for you all is kind of education focused. So I know we've heard a lot today about the importance of different kinds of education, but also of self-study, different kinds of resources that folks can access when they're starting out a career in the field. I'm curious, do you have any advice for our audience on how they can start a career in AI or data science? For example, academic training or low-cost resources. And feel free to jump in, or I'll pick someone. Either way.
Hey everybody, this is Sam. I'll share my experience and my background as for skills and experience for AI. So I have a background in computer and electrical engineering, and I've been working more in the DevOps space. I've been working for Rendered AI now for about 1.5 years, and I lead releases for our platform. So we are a platform as a service for creating physics-based synthetic data, and we create this data to train artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. So it's training and validating. So we don't work on AI ourselves. We're, the data generation piece of it. So for my experience, I was able to basically, while working on my grad degree, transfer from being a technologist in like a general technology type field to AI because of the coursework that I've been taking. So what I will suggest is, so I was able to take master's classes and gain knowledge through this coursework. And because of that, I gained a perspective and was able to, understand the language of AI and, also learn about the industry while still working. So there's several great quality and low cost master's programs out there for working professionals. So it's very possible to do this while you're still working and do it part-time. So for example, I'm studying at Georgia Tech, and it's one of the top schools for computer science, and they have an online master's program for people just like me. So I started the program in spring of 2020, and I'm looking at graduating next fall. I've taken classes like AI for robotics, machine learning for trading, computer vision, knowledge-based AI, human-computer interaction, and I found that these have been really pivotal to my career and understanding of the AI industry. So if you're interested in the career path from, transferring from engineering, I highly suggest taking a look at the catalog for some of these schools and, see what sparks your interest. I'll also mention the program I'm doing is completely virtual. And when I started it, this was like right before the pandemic. So it honestly somehow just ended up working out really perfectly. I also, moved different states while being in this program. So I've been able to just be really flexible with it. And I will say, looking forward, there's definitely jobs in AI that currently don't exist yet, like Alyssa and Dia were speaking about. So Rendered AI has defined a AI job of the future called the synthetic data engineer. This role is going to require skills like simulation, Python programming, image manipulation, game engine development, and even knowing like geospatial technology. So you can be part of that piece to help to generate synthetic data. So you can also help with training and validating AI models. So, you don't have to work on AI algorithms yourselves. Like there's just such a big space that you could kind of fit in with like, whatever skills you have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam. It's super helpful to hear your perspective and your experiences at Georgia Tech. That's amazing. I'm curious if either of the other panelists have any advice here. Please go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So, I am currently working as a data scientist at IHS Market in India. So, what helped me get into AI was during my undergrad. I was involved in research. So, I was involved in a complete different domain, that was social networks. As like in my first year of engineering, I was just trying to explore what I want. So I think that really helps, like if you're into some graduate courses, doing your engineering or doing your master's even, exploring different courses always helps. So I was involved with various professors and what they were working on. And then I got to know about this AI because I was obviously, I realized after some months that I'm not very interested in the social networks and I'm more inclined towards AI. So but the college I studied in did not have and the semester I was in did not have any courses or anything like that. So what I did was I started emailing professors from various other universities in India and even in abroad. That helped me. I went to their to the university website. I went through their research profiles, and I went and read through and researched through like various there are like artificial intelligence is not just one field. It's like there's computer vision, there's natural language processing, there are intelligence systems, and there are e-learning systems. So I went and read about all of them and tried doing my research on all of them, like what I would like to explore. And I started cold emailing the professors in India and in abroad. Like I would say, like not every prof you would get a reply from all the professors, but one of the professor in India from one of the renowned institutes replied back to me and told hey, yeah, I sure if you would like to work with me, I would love to give you a chance. And that was my starting point of AI. And before that, I just knew, like I didn't have any practical knowledge. I just knew what I read through the internet, and I didn't have any courses or anything. But yeah, he did guide through, because the project he wanted me to work on started 3 months later, was supposed to be starting, and then he guided me through one of the courses that I could take, but that was year 2018. So because I didn't have I didn't know any community, or I didn't know like this women in AI or any such community. Today we are very we have great exposures available, and that time we were not active. So he really helped me. And then when I worked with him for 1.5 months in the institute, that was a lab in India. So that even helped me network with the professors from outside India, because I was working in one of the research projects that was from Jordan. One of my professor was from Jordan. So then I started collaborating with him on one of the research projects, and then that helped me even get one of the research paper published in IEEE through him. So that really helped me, and that boosted my confidence also. I started very small, and initially I would say you would not get replies from when you start cold emailing professors, but doing a small projects, getting to know what is the starting point, because to get to a destination you have to start somewhere. So starting this really helps you give some motivation to that. And then I also started then I realized, okay, I want to do more into this, and then I started emailing the professors again to find out, is there anything else that I want to explore. And then that also helped me land internships outside India, that is in UK, and I got to visit and do some research project and even collaborate with people there. And as I said, that really helped me network and build my own profile, because Lisa highlighted, right, building your own profile really helps. And that was during my undergraduate. I had all this I took a risk not getting into a campus job because I was not interested in, I was very clear that I don't want to get into a software engineering role. I want a data science role. So I then again took an internship in India, and that helped me land a job there itself. That was my first job in healthcare analytics. And then I was planning to switch because over 1.5 years, I realized my growth there saturated completely. So then I got into my current role, and I would suggest the people you work with, always look for the people, like-minded people, because that really helps you, ground and get more information. And even contributing to open source really helps. There are a lot of good programs that are for both students and as well as the professionals to upskill and learn more and more. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, to piggyback off of what Tareem was saying, for me, I got my experience in data science through getting a minor in applied statistics and data science at Kennesaw State University. And just like Daya was saying, you can, it's a very integrated field. So I also had a biology major with that. And what I did is I was really interested in public health and infant mortality and health for minorities. So from there, I met with one of my professors, Dr. Lawson and Professor Frankel, and they helped me with doing research projects and infant mortality. And yeah, I reached out to a lot of people at my university, and just other people I saw doing research that was very interesting to me. So that's how I got more experience with data science. I will also add, getting internships is also very helpful. For me, after I spent a couple of years working in the human studies lab at Kennesaw State University, I applied to an internship at Harvard for biostats and data science. And from there, I was able to do like more research, and that opened up doors for me. And from that program, I was able to like do some courses for biostatistics, programming, and also just like, interact more with the faculty and, more like-minded people at data science. And from there, I actually heard about my first job as a research assistant at Rand. So by networking at Harvard, I was able to get that first job with like being a research assistant. And then after that, I started at Tech Systems, which is a contractor that supports the CDC. And from there, I get to do like data analysis stuff. And so if you don't have a minor, another way to get more resources for data analysis is there's a lot of stuff like online that can help you. Like, for example, Girls Who Code is another organization that has resources. You could also use stuff like Data Camp, and you could use LinkedIn Learning if you have I know for Cobb County, but with other certain counties, their libraries will give you LinkedIn Learning for free. So that's an opportunity to learn data science. You could also do HackerRank, which is a website that it helps prepare you for interview questions for programming. And you can select by like the different languages and by difficulty. You can also do Udemy, which has courses throughout, well, it has, different courses in both AI and in data science. And they have sales during the year. So that's another resource. You could also use Coursera. I haven't used Coursera much, but a lot of people have said good things about that. So that's another opportunity for learning data science.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. It sounds like if I can summarize, it sounds like sometimes we're a little bit shy, but actually it can be a really good thing to reach out to professors, to be networking, to be asking to be involved in research. It sounds like that's been a huge benefit to you all. Additionally, we have some really amazing online resources for folks. If you're not in a graduate program, I know there's a bunch in the chat right now. So thank you so much for your responses to that question. And I think Raga has the next question for us all.
Yes. Do you have any, did you face any obstacle or something challenging, and how did you overcome it in your career?
Hey guys, so I'll start on that one. So I will kind of, I have a similar background to what Dia was saying, where, you find yourself being like the only maybe person of color and even woman in the room, and it can be very uncomfortable. So in prior general engineering roles, when I was more junior, sometimes in the hiring and interview process, I would get met with comments like, people will see my resume and not know what I look like or sound like, and they would, talk to me on the phone and be like, oh, I expected you to be an Indian man, or wow, you speak great English, just comments like that were just very uncomfortable for me. So whenever I got those kinds of comments, I kind of didn't pursue those opportunities. I've also, had issues with bad managers or teams where I felt like I couldn't collaborate because I was so different. So what I've learned is take as much as you can from your job and know when it's okay to leave a job when it's not fitting you anymore. And what I've also learned is, as I've, gained credibility and experience in the hiring process, culture fit is a huge thing that I look for. So I'm always going to be looking out for how mutually respectful the team is with the hiring and who I could see on the team as advocates also. And I think you should be really picky about, who you work for in your organization, because in the long run, this is going to decrease your chance of burnout, increase your longevity in your career, and help you feel like you're more fulfilled in your work contributions. So I would say don't be afraid to be picky there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's excellent advice. Thank you so much, Sam. Does anyone else have thoughts on this question about, maybe an obstacle you encountered early in your career and how you overcame it?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important thing I would like to highlight is like, as I said in my previous answers as well, like there's one thing is like you would lose all the motivation, so you would not feel motivated enough because you do not have enough experience, because there is a cycle like people data scientist jobs mostly look for experience, and how would you get an experience if someone doesn't give you a job, right? So in the initial stages of my life, I think that was right after college, as I told, in India it's more like in India and even in US, I think it's more about like until you do not have a PhD, people would not offer you a role in data science. They want a 5 years experience or a PhD degree for you to be there. So initially it was very challenging for me to find a role suitable for me, right? Because most of the like calls or discussion with companies would end up like this, like, oh, you do not have experience. We are looking for someone in a full stack role, not in data science, because we want someone, because this is a research role and I want someone to have PhD degree. So, but I think the way I overcame was I kept my spirits high and I kept on going in that moment. And there will always, I'm very sure that there will always be some companies that will be willing to hire you. You just need to be very patient about, like keep on trying, and also be very picky about like the companies and the culture that you want to work with, because maybe once you join and you might realize that this is not where you want to be. So again, you need to transition into a different company and a different everything altogether, right? So I think you would need to stick to what you want, and definitely there would be something that that would be there out for you, and that would help you upskill. And meanwhile, you just need to keep on upskilling. Like one of the thing that also helped me was like I started building pet projects, like if you go to Kaggle, there are a lot of open source data sets, and you can go and try exploring those things, and you can build your portfolio and keep it on GitHub or all these. That will help you build profile. So like suppose there might be some company who might give you a chance to get into to be interviewed, and then you will have a chance to show all your like passion projects that you have, and that will really help you. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. To add on to that, for me, one of the obstacles I faced was having like imposter syndrome, not being like confident enough about my own skills. An example of that is that this was like when I was first started interviewing for jobs for like data analyst positions. I was speaking to a recruiter and she kind of stopped me. She's like, Angie, from your resume, you have the skills you need, but you're not going to get this position because you're not as confident as other people. So I had to really learn to just, believe more in my abilities and just come into interviews being more confident. So yeah, that was a big obstacle I worked on.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you so much for your responses to this. It really resonates with me as well as someone with a non-traditional background and also dealt with imposter syndrome. So it's helpful to hear that from other people as well. We have one last question for you all today, if you still have time, which is we have a lot of people on the call who are perhaps currently in college, or maybe they just graduated this past June. Maybe they're looking for an internship or their first job ever in the field. Do you have any advice for someone in that position, like maybe resources they should be looking at to find the jobs that would be a good fit for them, would be a good culture, and all of that?
Yeah, so I would like to go first on this. So I think, as I said, like this LinkedIn for finding out any kind of research roles and even getting an industry role as well. So the basic strategy is prepare a list of companies that you would want to work with. Try finding out people from those companies and who work in data science. like maybe a hiring manager or like a lot of people have to have a that profile with the hiring sign and all this, and try interacting with them on LinkedIn, and just keep like if you go to in on LinkedIn, you do get a contact information as well, like what is their mode of contacts, and then you can even try contacting them through the emails as well. That would really help you to find your job. Like LinkedIn is a very powerful site. I would say like all my industry jobs were from LinkedIn. It was through networking. So yeah, I would say LinkedIn is a really powerful thing to, if you are in just graduated and looking for any internships also, and also try visiting like all these companies like Microsoft, Amazon. They all have a lot of graduate programs. So they hire there are timelines for them to hire. They hire a year prior to you are graduating or 6 months prior to you are graduating. So there are graduate programs, especially in US and UK, that you could opt for, and that will really help you to work along in data science and get good industry exposure and decide where you want to be in next 5 years.
So the one thing that I would share is while you're thinking of or leveraging some of the things that Tareem mentioned, is to not be afraid to take a position, that you may not be in for a long time, but one that is a stepping stone to a next step or the next place that you might take. So your first job or your first opportunity out of college may not be ideal. And I think that's okay, as long as it's an environment with which you feel like you can learn and gain something from that experience. So I am not at the first company that I worked, and most people don't do that anymore, like work a company and stay there 15 years or 30 years. That might be ideal for some, but we're not. And I think it's okay for us to walk into our first position and find something that's going to help you grow and build skill and expertise ready for the next stage. And so some of this is strategic, right? What will give me what I need that I may not have today? What may open me up or allow me to see other opportunities that may help me, move forward?
I'd like to add another resource and another sort of thing to the excellent advice that Tareem and Dia have already offered. I know of this resource called Rewriting the Code. I don't know if anyone else here has heard of it, but it's an excellent organization that basically matches any women who are interested in really technical roles where you write code to those type of roles, like whether you're in college as an undergrad and looking for an internship, or you're going to be graduating from undergrad soon and looking for a full-time job, or you're a graduate student who's looking for internships or full-time jobs. They have like exclusive networking events and referrals and hiring programs with different companies that you can take advantage of, and it's all free. Like all you have to do is sign up with your .edu email. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to that organization in the chat, and I'd highly recommend connecting with them.
I would say one way to help you with getting a job is like making sure you're really, branding yourself. LinkedIn is a very good way to do that. So for example, on LinkedIn, I post a lot of stuff that I either learn or posting accomplishments, and you don't always have to post like big accomplishments like graduating, but like anything like, I passed a very difficult programming exam, or just anything like interesting you learn. So that's a good way to basically make a brand on LinkedIn that will attract more recruiters and hiring managers. And another thing you can do to like put your name out there is present at research conferences. A lot of times hiring managers or recruiters go to those events. So, and it'll also give you more practice with like presenting, which you may end up doing if you pursue like a data science or data analyst career.
Piggybacking on everyone else here. So LinkedIn is a really great tool. And what I would also suggest is long-term relationships with recruiters are really key. I got the job at Rendered because I knew this recruiter for like 2.5 years. I had tried to, apply for jobs and interview through the opportunities that she brought me, several times. And it honestly took many tries for me to get this job. So I think keeping recruiter relationships and, checking in with your recruiter and, don't be afraid to have multiple recruiters to talk to. Like, networking is really key in the industry as well.
Awesome. Yes, that's great advice. I think we might bother you all for one final question if you still have time. Raga, did you want to ask that question?
Sure. Do you have any advice for becoming a leader in AI? Like, what can leaders in AI do to support and empower early career professionals in AI?
Yeah, so I think one of the very important thing is, if you are a leader, you should, the way to support the early careers, you should, the way you look at them is, that's where you also started sometimes, yeah, right? Because, sometimes as a leader, you do hold a lot of expectations from early career professionals, right? And you think they are not doing enough. So to be a good leader, you would need to first remember that you also started somewhere there, that because I would say I'm not a leader yet in that, but I have mentored some of the interns in my company this year, and they were like, what hell, they really thanked me, and like, because they were like, you went out of the way to help us learn, because they are still in college and to get industry exposure, right? But why I helped them was, because at some point I was also in their place, and someone was helping me to get into that, learn and upskill and all this. So I think those qualities get into us over time to become a very good leader. So and how do you support your team, and how do you support all your juniors, and how do you tackle the challenges, because there will always be challenges when if you say you are leading a team, there might be some ad hoc breaks or something like that. How do you handle all this? You should be very well versed with all this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Tareem. I think that really resonates, and, being empathetic to folks who are in their early career, acting on some of the advice that Dia and Alyssa gave us earlier in terms of, taking up space, being seen, being heard. I think all of that is really what it takes to be a leader in this space. So I know that was a bit of a curveball. So unless anyone else wants to take it, we can kind of move on. Although Angie, did you want to chat on that?
Yes, I would say also what's a good quality of a leader is being curious. So what I mean with that is just when you're presented with a hard problem, just try to take a bit, like small pieces by pieces, and think of like different creative ways you can, attack the problem. For example, when I was a research assistant at Brands, we were working on hospital data sets, and we had to find a way to basically format all these data sets in the same manner. So I had to teach myself how to write this code in Python in order to do it. And then I taught my team members that. So adding on to what Tareem was saying, also teaching what the stuff that you learn to your coworkers. And then from there, I was like, okay, this is saving us some time with the Python code. So I was like, is there any other way I can, speed up this process of formatting data? So I tried out using Power BI, and that was the first time I did that. And that was honestly a lot of fun. So I got to like teach my coworkers too how to like format the data in Power BI, and that ended up saving us a lot of time. So definitely a sum up, being curious and teaching others could help you be more of a leader in data science.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. Well, I think that is it for our panel. Thank you all so much for your time and for your thoughtful responses to these questions. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure our audience does as well. And with that, I'm just going to move on to the last slide in our deck here. I think we have some announcements about what's coming up in July. Bhuva and Raga, did you guys want to cover this?
Yes, our next event is on July 28th, 5 p.m. And the potential topics would be robotics and government sector. We will announce a speaker and panel next week, probably. So if you're interested in any of these programs, please feel free to access the links given here. And the links are mentioned in the chat as well. If you join Women in AI Slack, you need to join the USA Operations channel. Where we have more information available there. And thanks for giving all the links in the chat. Let me invite Bhuva to conclude this one.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Raga, thanks Kura, and thanks entire panel for joining us today. Sorry we went a little bit over, but it was a very engaging discussion. Thanks again, everyone.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.